Basically that is it. You have all the information there, because we can share. It's sharing our interests, our common interests. And we were at the London Book Fair in March, and that was the beginning of our working together. So from what Margaret has said, and if you didn't know, Margaret Busby was part of a publishing outfit called Allison and Busby. And she was the person that was responsible for bringing together a number of African and American and Caribbean writers and authors. So she's been pivotal in the things that has gone on before.
But what Jessica is too modest to say is that Bogle-L'Ouverture is one of the pioneering, not only publishing companies, but books selling outfits going back to the 60s, together with something like a company such as New Beacon Books. And Jessica...
So tell us a little bit about the bookshop. How did it start? Was it difficult? Did people warm to it?
I would think so. We were based, and indeed we still are, based in Ealing, the borough of Ealing. And there was a paucity of anything, literature, to do with our experiences in this country. And we began in our front room of our home. And our neighbors had complained that we were lowering the standard of the street. And so we were able to get premises on the high street, not quite high. And the need was there because not only our community came, but all the communities came. Teachers came, the children came, and the bookshop became like a community center because people wanted to know about housing. They have problems with the police and all kinds of different things like that. So it was really like a center point in the borough. And after we went into liquidation, there was a lull, and people really have been calling and saying, when are you going to start something else, and so on. But we continue to publish, modestly, but we do. And also, we do book services, the schools and libraries and organizations. So basically, and we are here backing what Margaret has just said.
So that gives you some idea of how pivotal and central Bogle-L'Ouverture, and this woman here, Jessica Huntley, my good friend Jessica, who's so modest, are to black publishing and book selling in Britain and internationally, because it's not only in Britain that the effects of the publications by Bogle-L'Ouverture and some of the other publishers here have an effect. So we're trying to make a difference to the literature world. I'm sorry about this comedy.
These are some of his books. He has written some children's books.
Okay. All right.
This is our most recent publication, and the Proverbs of Guyana explained.
Okay, tell us a little bit about it, the writer, the reasons.
The writer, her name is Joyce Rotman, and she was a senior lecturer and lawyer and teacher. And for years she has been sitting on this material and was encouraged to put it in motion. And it deals with the sayings and the situations that our communities, and it's not only about Guyana, the Proverbs embraces worldwide because, people deal with, I don't know this, lots of sayings that are relevant to us, and this is what this book is about. And in as much as it has just been published, it's now out of print, and we have to think about, and for a book like this, which is more or less like a specialist book, it's not so specialist, but not just for the Guyanese community, but for the rest of the world, because some of the proverbs, Middle Eastern people use some of them. Definitely it stems from Africa, so it is very important for us. And there was one...
Got any copies left? I'll buy one. You got any copies left? I'll buy one.
Yes, I've got a sale right away. And I wanted to bring a book by a young man named Cecil Rudrendra, But unfortunately, he isn't. I hadn't walked with him. So, Proverbs of Guyana, and I would say The Journey to an Illusion by Donald Hines are very important. You know.
We have a Bogle author here. This is the Bogle-L'Ouverture author as well as publisher. Well, the future is that we have to keep on doing what we're all doing and more of it, because I think we all recognize that the power of writing, the power of words, the power of publishing, and we have to encourage more people to get involved in those areas rather than just thinking, oh, I want to be a famous writer. Somebody has to be behind the production of that literature and those works. And it's not a question of saying, oh, I can't afford it, because we all of us here started in a small way from where we are and with what we have. We didn't say have huge amounts of money before we decided to be publishers. So I always say you can photocopy something three times and you are a publisher. So I think more of us, more black people, need to get involved in the whole publishing process, whether it's books on the web or anything, because then we take control of our own information, our own culture, our own words. And I think, do you agree with that, Jessica?
Yes, I agree with that. But what I would like to say in addition to that, that particularly the publishers, independent publishers from the Caribbean, we need to publish in the African languages. And I remember Ngugi was younger, speaking to both Margaret and I many years ago at Africa Center, when Margaret was really in the flow of publishing, right? That you too, he said, you must start publishing in the African language. And I've always remembered that. And we need to do that if we want to reach out. And we talk about diaspora these days. We need to reach out. And whatever happens on the internet, I think the written word, a book, would always be central. How many of us have the access to the internet? How many of us can understand it? Or like myself, I'm so illiterate. I mean, it's not funny. It's not even funny, you know? So the written word, a book, people would always want that. And what we have to be sure of, that we must publish things that are relevant to our struggle, so that will keep us going and keep that struggle we talk about on.
And also to keep our own history alive. There's a saying, an African saying, until the lions have their say, tales of victory will be told by the hunter. So I think we have to write our own histories. And I think also we have to pay tribute to what can be transmitted through the oral form, because another saying is that when an old person dies, it's like a library burning down. So I think we have to go to our elders and access that wealth of information, and whether we put it into book form or record it in some other way, we have to acknowledge that history and the power of those lived experiences. And Jessica is one of the people who's been through a lot of things. I mean, Jessica, I know she looks very young, but she's actually a little older than that, a couple of years older than me. And she has 8 decades of experience, and we have to honor elders like my friend here, Jessica, who is too modest to tell you herself.
I don't like that word elder, you know.
You're not older than me? Oh.
Here we go again.
Sorry about that. We're a very good double act, don't you think?
We're like this, really, you know.
We're not putting this on for you.
I think that reading is very central to our development and our understanding of the wider world in which we live. I think it's important for us to be numerate and literate. It's very important. And that is what I would say to our young people. And this is why, for example, we still are part of the supplementary educational system. We started that in the late 60s, and we are still at it because the need continued. So the fact is that the reading is so very important, and we have to continue to read. We have to encourage our children to read, even if it is a comic. You know, Some parents don't like the children to read a comic. I say if they read a comic, good, because there will come a point when they would want to read a book. You know, so that's my final word. Read, be numerate, be literate. It is so important.
I agree.